Well, if you watch the movie, you'll understand what that means. Let's talk about The Legend of Ochi. Hey everyone, David Saxon, watch our fast. Sorry, this is part of the movie also. The singing and the teeth are part of the movie. You have to watch the movie to find out why. But I'm here to talk about The Legend of Ochi coming to theaters on April 25th, 2025. Well, coming to the DC area, I guess greater market. I think it's opening in LA and New York April 18th, but general release April 25th, 2025. It is a new kind of kids fairy tale fantasy-ish film from A24. It is an interesting film. It's beautiful. My hot take though is I think you should watch later. Look, it's a beautiful film with gorgeous cinematography, haunting music, and a great cast, but ultimately it feels like a film that's geared kind of towards kids, but it's a little bit too scary, slow, and cinematic to appeal to them. I was kind of wondering like who is this for? That's one of the things I'll talk about a little bit later. But look, I think it is an interesting movie. I think it's beautiful, but it didn't really appeal to me, and I don't really know if it'll appeal to kids. I guess we'll have to wait to find out. So I definitely think you should watch it eventually. Just wait for it to come to streaming or on demand. And hey, you might be wondering, hey, this feels like a kid's movie. Should I take my kids to it? Well, I already kind of talked about it. I would take like older toddlers, older kids. Like I said, the movie is a little bit scarier than I expected it to be. It is a little bit more violent than I thought it would be. It's slower. It has some language, not a ton, but it has some curse words. I was a little surprised here in a PG movie. And it has some like strange religious overtones as well. So ultimately, like, it should be fine for like older kids. Younger kids might be okay. Look, the monkeys are cute. So, at least my youngest enjoyed that, but he did mention a couple times that the movie was scary. I think it was a little slow to keep his attention. So I would say this is fine for like older toddlers. And also you might be wondering, hey, is there a stinger in this movie? Should I stay through the credits? No, you shouldn't. The credits are very long and there is nothing at the end. Once the credits start rolling, you can head out. But all that being said, I'll tell you a little about the film, a few things I like, a few things I didn't like, and then really quickly go into a recap. So as you can imagine, there'll be spoilers in the recap section. If you don't know what happens in this movie, and you might not, there are some surprises along the way, I would turn it off when you get to the recap. Before that, though, I'll keep it vague. I'll keep it spoiler free. Let you know when I get to those spoilers. So in The Legend of Ochi, you have Yuri, who is raised on this remote village on the island of Carpathia. I guess it's in Romania. It is a very remote island in the Black Sea. And Yuri, is part of this community that's raised there. But there is something in the woods that scares the community, and Yuri has a close encounter with it. So, things I liked about this movie. The first, like I said, cinematography. It is gorgeous. It is a beautiful film. It is a very well-made film. The camera shots are great. The camera work is great. The focus is beautiful. It really highlights the nature, the wonderful setting. Everything that's beautiful about the film shines through in the cinematography. The second thing I love, kind of related, I love the setting. Look, it's set in like a remote village. It's set in like an Eastern European uh, area. So you get this like timeless aspect to it. You get a lot of like interesting colors, interesting, supermarkets, things like that. It is also set in nature. A lot of it is set in nature, and it is a gorgeous, gorgeous kind of like forest environment, wooded environment, just a beautiful nature setting as well. The other thing I love the music. It has some really kind of like powerful string music at times. It has some lighter classical music. It fits with the style and definitely heightens the emotions. And the last thing I love the cast. Look, it's got Willem Dafoe, Emily Watson, and Finn Wolfhard. I love all of them. And Helena Zengel is great as Yuri. I hadn't seen her before, but it was kind of like she played a central role in this. So overall, it has a fantastic cast. So all that being said, things I didn't love as much, and there's a decent number of them. The first, I didn't love the writing. Look, it's fine, but some of the lines just felt off. It felt clunky. It didn't feel natural. There's a pivotal scene at the start where two of the characters are talking to each other, and it's almost like they're just saying like random things to each other. It's really weird. So the writing is just okay. The second thing I didn't love, it's slow. It is a cinematic film. It is beautiful, but it doesn't progress very fast, which is weird for a film that feels geared towards kids. The director even came on before, had a little statement before that said that this film was made for kids, and the kids don't understand why. I didn't understand why, because it does feel like a kind of like slower cinematic movie. I don't know, maybe it'll appeal to kids, but I guess we'll have to find out. The third thing I didn't love as much, it is scary. For a kids movie, it's pretty scary. There are some, dread, there's some moments of dread. There's like a scary hunting scene that starts it. There's some scenes where you're not sure what's going to happen. And so I was a little surprised. My, youngest was a little scared through it. He made it through the movie, but he was a little bit scared. It was a much kind of darker film than I expected for a kids movie. The fourth thing I didn't love as much, There's some language and some religion, which again is weird for a kids movie. Like, there's not a ton, but there's a few kind of like harsh words in there. It's rated PG, but it's a stronger kind of dialogue than I expected for a PG movie. And there's some weird kind of like religious overtones in this as well. Again, not something I expected to see in a kids movie. It's not terrible, but it was just a little bit surprising. And the last thing I didn't love as much, I kind of talked about it, like who is this for? Like again, this feels like a film that is geared towards kids. It doesn't feel like a film that'll appeal to kids. It feels like a film that's gonna be too slow for them, a little bit too scary. The Ochi characters are adorable, they're cute, but it feels like a movie that is, be like more of a PG-13 cinematic film that comments on culture and nature and things like that, and like the conflict of old ways versus new ways. But it also feels kind of like a kid's film at times, given like some of the characters and some of the, interactions and things like that. So it doesn't really, to me, it kind of tries to straddle the line and doesn't really appeal to either of them. So all that being said, Legend of Ochi comes to the theaters on April 25th, 2025. Most theaters, it comes to LA and I think New York, April 18th, 2025. So I think you should check it out eventually. I think you should wait for it to come to streaming or on demand. But if you do check it out, let me know what you think. Let me know what you liked and didn't like. I'd love to hear it. I'm going to really quickly go into a recap right now. So if you don't know what happens in this movie, I would turn it off now because there will be spoilers. So in The Legend of Ochi, you have Yuri who's growing up on like a remote island, is growing up on the remote island of Carpathia, one of those. It is in the Black Sea. It is, I think, part of Romania because, or maybe at least that's where it was filmed. But it feels like kind of a foreign land to me. It felt very kind of like Eastern European, very foreign, and it's also very remote. It is, there's surrounded by water. It's a small town. There's not like a ton of like technology. There is this kind of like interesting intersection where there's some old ways kind of mixing with like newer modern ideas. Not like crazy modern, but you've got horse-drawn buggies next to cars, things like that. Yuri's dad is a hunter who is obsessed with the Ochi, these like mythical kind of like monkey creatures that live on the island. They look like monkeys. They have like orange fur, blue faces. Um, they are kind of blamed for a lot of the things that happen on the island. They're blamed for killing animals and being violent. And Maxim is, he's a hunter. He's hunting them. He's also basically raised a kid army and is teaching them how to fight the Ochi. A bunch of like kids from the village who've had bad things happen to their parents because of the Ochi. He's taken in and he is like training them to shoot and to hunt these things. Now, Yuri's mother, Dasha, left when she was very young, and so she's basically raised by her father. She also has kind of an adopted brother, this kid named Petro, who is like the oldest of this, kid army, and also kind of the leader, the leader on the ground, at least of the kid army. He's the most experienced, so Maxim kind of like uses him as like a field general, essentially. Maxim doesn't like sit back; he goes out and hunts too, but Petro's like the kind of like leader of this group of kids. So. One night, they are out hunting and they find a bunch of Ochi in the forest. They shoot some of them, they set fire. They don't kill any of them, but they cause a mother and a little, baby Ochi to get separated. They pursue the baby Ochi, and the baby Ochi escapes. Now, later, after this, Yuri goes to check on their traps around around their property, and she finds this little baby Ochi trapped in one of them. She ends up releasing it, and although it's scared, and kind of a little like, hesitant with her, they do eventually connect. She takes it back to her place to patch it up. It was in like a bear trap, so its leg is hurt. It's like probably is broken at this point, but she goes and patches it up. And while she's doing it, she connects with this little Ochi. She thinks it's gonna like eat her caterpillar, but then the Ochi kind of like sings and communes with nature and causes like, this like feeling to come up in her. You can kind of see like the hairs on the caterpillar raise up. It feels like this Ochi is like connected with Mother Nature and things like that. It is very beautiful, but unfortunately, it's making a lot of noise, and Petro hears it. Now he goes to investigate, but Yuri, kind of being scared, knowing that Petro's coming, packs up the Ochi, packs up a few supplies, and escapes, and plans to take the Ochi back to her family. And this was that weird interchange, like Petro and Yuri are talking as she's about to jump out the window, and their lines are, I don't know, they were silly, but they kind of like went back and forth, kind of over each other. Didn't really make a ton of sense. Now, Yuri escapes with the Ochi. Petro kind of keeps it quiet, and Yuri goes into town to get some food. But while she's in the grocery store, the Ochi gets spotted and it gets scared during the like commotion and bites Yuri. They do manage to escape and they steal a car to get out of there. They eventually crash the car because the car was getting a tire change. It wasn't done yet. And they kind of make their way on foot. Now, meanwhile, Maxim, her father, finds that Yuri is gone and looks in her room and sees fur and blood from the Ochi. So he thinks that she was kidnapped by them and rallies the group to like help her out. Now, Petro doesn't tell him what actually happened, which is bad on Petro. And so he just kind of like goes along with them as they go to hunt the Ochi and save Yuri. Now Yuri makes her way, further into the forest, and she and the Ochi bond. But that bite, when that Ochi bit her, it seems like it's infected. It's like puffing up. It's like pulsing. It's turning blue. There's like some weird growth on her arm, and so it's getting worse, and it doesn't seem good for her. But she also starts to kind of take on Ochi qualities. She starts to be able to talk to them, like very rudimentary talk. She talks to this little guy, and also she gets a taste for bugs. And so when she learns all this, she's so excited, but she ends up falling into a trap that was set by a hunter. It doesn't like boom on her. It's like a pit trap. So she falls to the bottom of the pit, passes out, and the little Ochi, runs away scared. Now, who set this trap? Well, we find out it's Yuri's mother, Dasha. Dasha finds her, takes her back to the house. Turns out that she is like a remote shepherd. She lives in the hills. She has some sheep. When she sees, Yuri's arm, she makes a concoction from, I guess, Romanian brown bat that I guess developed an immunity to Ochi over thousands of years. The bats bit the Ochi bit the bats, and they developed an immunity. And so she makes a stew with like a dead brown bat and then injects it into Yuri. Now, Yuri is worried that if she fixes this infection that's causing her to be able to take on Ochi qualities, she'll lose those. But Dasha says that she actually taught her how to speak Ochi. Like, what? Like, how? Where did that happen? Well, apparently Dasha has been studying nature and the Ochi. She knows about them, knows some of their language, and can communicate a little bit, like play some of the stuff with the flute. And I guess she taught that to Yuri at a young age. So Dasha can't speak it, but she taught Yuri that. And I guess somehow when Yuri was hanging out with the Ochi for like a day, it came back to her. I guess kind of like immersion, like she was immersed in Ochi, and so it came back to her. Now Yuri wants to go find the Ochi homeland and take this little guy back to its parents. But Dasha says it's too dangerous. Yuri is headstrong. She leaves anyway and goes to find that Ochi lair. Later, Maxim in the game track Yuri to Dasha's house, and they ransack the house before realizing it's Dasha's. And we find out a little bit more when Maxim meets Dasha. Apparently, Maxim cut off Dasha's hand. She has like a wooden hand. He cut it off, I guess, in order to prevent some sort of Ochi infection. I guess the Ochi bit her, I think, and so he cut off her hand to prevent that infection. And then I think this caused some, turmoil in their marriage, and so either he threw Dasha out or Dasha left. But that is where they separated. And earlier, Yuri had said that the Ochi cost him his wife. I guess that's why. I guess they bit her, maybe while she was studying them. Now, eventually, Maxim finds this map that Dasha has that lays out where the Ochi lair is, and he heads out to like go find it. And also, Dasha later heads out to go find it as well. She wasn't going to go. She thought it was too dangerous, but she wants to go help Yuri, so she goes. Now, meanwhile, Yuri and the Ochi are heading to the lair. She eventually makes it. It's like a cliffside cave. There's a bunch of like little holes there that Ochi are hanging out in. And she is going to go into this, but that is when Maxim and Petro find them. It looks like they are going to attack the Ochi. And they're also worried that Yuri is going to get attacked when she goes in there, but she defies them. She goes into the cave anyways. Maxim follows her, but in the dark cave, he can't see, and he gets stuck underneath a big log. His foot gets stuck. He can't move, and Yuri tries to help free him by using his axe to like try to help free him, but she can't do it. Maxim gets, and Maxim is in pain, and the Ochi goes and like tries to comfort him. It seems like it sings to him a little bit and like reaches out its hand, and like they touch hands, and this seems to change Maxim. He thought these were like super violent, evil creatures. But this seems to like help him overcome that years and years and years of hatred in this one little like ET kind of moment. After this, Yuri tries harder to free Maxim. She's able to free him, and they continue on to the lair, the central homeland. Now, when they get there, it's like this like isolated glade in the middle of this cave. It's beautiful. It's lush. There's sunlight streaming down, and there's a bunch of old seem like elder Ochi in there. The Ochi are surprised, but it seems like they're okay. Yuri approaches them with her little Ochi friend on her shoulder. They're concerned, but it seems like everything will be okay. And then the Ochi spot up in the like cliffs the Kid Army. They're there. They set up some sort of like sniping post. I don't know how they got there because they would have to like climb up a mountain, but they ended up getting there. They have a sniping post set up, and Maxim, because now he likes the Ochi, tells him like, "No, hold your fire." But one of them gets nervous, shoots anyways. It hits close to one of the elder Ochi, and that causes that Ochi to like yell and scream. It seems like everything is tense. Unfortunately, Yuri is like right near the Ochi, so now we're worried like if they're gonna attack her because they're scared. Everything kind of gets tense. And this is actually a beautiful scene because like you would think it would be loud, but I think it got pretty quiet as you're like seeing the emotion on the different animals and the tension here. But that's all solved when Dasha comes and starts playing her flute that can commune with the Ochi. She plays it. It kind of like calms everything down. The Ochi that was shot at like starts to sing to Dasha. Then Yuri and like her Ochi friend start to sing also, and that causes them to kind of commune. Like the older Ochi and Yuri commune. And there was this line earlier that Dasha said, when she was studying the Ochi, she said when they sing to each other, they kind of like form a bond, and they only sing to family. So the fact that they're singing to each other shows that like Yuri is now like part of their clan or part of their like family, whatever you want to call it. And also, while this happens, Maxim lifts Yuri up, like gets under her, lifts her on his shoulders, so she is up eye level with the Ochi, kind of like showing that Maxim is now supporting her too. Maxim is now an Ochi ally, and so they all sing. Everyone seems enthralled by this. After this, everyone kind of calms down. They seem to accept Yuri. Dasha runs up to her, gives her a big hug. It seems like everyone has changed from this magical experience. And everyone's happy. Even the kids up at the top, they seem to be happy too. Everyone is now friends of the Ochi after this one encounter. The Ochi then sing, and that is the movie. That is the Legend of Ochi. Like I said, I think it's a beautiful film. I think it's interesting. I don't really know who it's from. I think it's also very slow. I think it's a little bit artsy for a kids movie, but I think you should see it eventually. Just maybe wait for it to come to streaming or on demand. But if you do check it out, let me know what you think. Let me know what you liked and didn't like. I would love to hear it. And thanks so much for watching. If you like this review, please like and subscribe to this channel. It helps me a lot. Make sure all my new content goes straight to you. Thank you.